A lot of it is tools I've been comfortable using in the past. So there's sort of a lock-in. You know, you've been using a particular analytics tool for a while, SDK, and so you kind of stick with it because you know it works and you know what to expect. That aside, it doesn't mean I'm not constantly experimenting with other sorts of SDKs. I want to say a big chunk of it actually comes more based on need. So we'll be doing something in the application, and then we'll realize, hey, I wonder if there's an SDK that does this. And we'll go out and search. And there's some SDK aggregate sites that we've also used, which I'm forgetting the names of. Of course, sometimes I just come across interesting things, whether it be at a developer event, in their pseudo trade show section, or just talking to different people, or just using a new app, mostly games, and just looking at, hey, what, you know, why did it do this thing? Oh, it looks like it's powered by somebody else. So my discovery has been rather organic. I don't want to say there's like kind of one central place, but there are many instances where, you know, Tempo, we had to introduce a reservation system because we had a lot of demand early on. And so I went out and looked, you know, was there an SDK for reservation systems? You know, like sort of like what Mailbox did. And so that's an example where in many instances I'm looking for something because something comes up to see if it exists. Certainly we went through that with app ratings and operator and how that works. We were looking at the different options available. We went through this similar kind of thing for bug reporting because we kind of had our analytics, but bug reporting was a whole different thing. Not sorry, crash reporting is a whole different thing. So it's kind of a two-way thing, and there, you know, you start ending up with some tools that you trust, and then you end up evangelizing those tools, and it kind of feeds on itself.
So I'd say probably the drivers for that kind of stuff, it's just developers themselves. So we're often working on slightly different features and things, and maybe someone will come across something or just discover something when they're reading up on a bug they're having, and probably more often than not just start using it, just get going. And if it's going to help them, especially if it's free, like so much is these days, obviously you can get going on pretty much anything. And we also, it's still a fairly small company, so we have regular team meetings with the whole team, and we have whole company meetings every week as well. So this kind of knowledge spreads very quickly. And if someone's helping out someone, then you know they're going to want to share it with other people. And then yeah, decisions just sort of get made generally, which is quite nice. It's quite flexible, and sometimes we just start using something and that becomes the standard, and not necessarily needing much authorization to do that, especially with free stuff, which is really nice. Yeah.
Like, how do we discover new APIs? I mean, I think we receive a lot of information just by being in the user groups community and on Meetup. When one of the organizations has a meeting and then they talk about or they highlight an API or an SDK, then that's one way of doing it. Other way is, well, we're actually very involved in like the hackathon scene. So going to a hackathon, like you'll see a number of different companies providing their APIs, and so that gives us a free ability to test out something, you know, getting our feet wet before actually committing it on a live project.
I think we start searching where all people start searching, Google. And we look for companies that we think are going to actually be around, right? And that's one of the biggest challenges with APIs today on the internet is that we have to make sure that our goals are aligned with whatever company that we are integrating with. So therefore, you know, I'm looking for services that are charging me for something, right? So that I know that when I put my credit card down, that's how they're making money. And you know, as long as they get more people like me to pay them, they will continue forward. Those services that are free for me as a developer, and then you know are being monetized other ways, I'm very suspicious of. So because really, I want to make sure that whatever we develop against, A, stays around, and B, you know, is a real business. So we kind of look at that from that perspective. We look to see how widely used a product is, right? So kind of one way to test that is to do some searches within Stack Overflow, right? Generally, if some of the harder questions are being asked on Stack Overflow and more appropriately answered, that's usually a good sign. There's other places as well that we can kind of do that research. Quora is another place. But really, we want to try to use APIs that we don't have to rip out and replace in the future.
We, as you can imagine, have a lot of SDKs and APIs to choose from. If we integrated everything that kind of sounded interesting and came onto our radar, we'd have 30 to 50 SDKs in each of our apps. So it's definitely something we talk about a lot. What we really do is, if anyone picks up something that they think might be interesting, the first thing we do is really just do some research on it, and we try and evaluate what the ROI on it is specifically going to be. What's the benefit going to be? Is it going to be monetary? Do we know what it is? Can we quantify it? Is it a time savings for us, where it's going to save us internal development time that we can spend doing something else instead? So we try and really quantify what we can as far as the return on it, and then we obviously also look at what the investment is that's required to integrate it. So it really becomes kind of a management group executive decision to decide if we're going to go forward with something or not. And really, whoever identifies the SDK is really kind of responsible for figuring out exactly how it would work with the rest of our offerings and what it can really bring to the table for us.
The biggest thing is reducing the speed bumps, and that too many places say, and that we've got the REST API, we've got the 4-paragraph README, and that we're done, woohoo! And that, but there's that leaves a lot of speed bumps there, and that. Is there more documentation? Is there a actual helper library, like a Java jar for Android, versus everybody rolling their own sort of client access library for accessing the web service? Is there a dedicated support point, whether it's a private forum or a Stack Overflow or wherever, where they're going to be able to get assistance with using that library? Are the license terms something that anybody is going to be able to agree to, or are there particular license terms or terms of service that are going to be problematic, and that due to IP issues, to issues regarding your blanking, and that, so I mean, issues from ranging from IP concerns to does the app have to be reviewed before it can be released? And if so, how does that review process work? And so you want to have few speed bumps. The few speed bumps you want to have nice signage right there. Here's a speed bump. And that they don't run into them and wonder what the heck that came from. So it's the doing an SDK, an API for Android, and that is not just a tactical, hey, couple developers, weekend of Red Bull, and that we're going to slap something together and put it out, and that it's part of your product mix, and that you got to treat it as such.